Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League, we're in Franklin, Kentucky to get the season started in the E3 Sparkplug Super Modified Tractor class. Last year was an incredibly close battle to the last round, with Bill Leishner pulling out the championship over Steve Bunnage by just 2 points. The class will be wide open again this year with Stan Shelton and Joe Ader. They're ready to make another run at the championship. We've also got 2 new mods in the category this year with the Sullivan's Tonka Kentuckian and the Boyd's Green Streak. Let's get the action started.
Tractor pulling. The ultimate test of power. Purpose-built vehicles create thousands of horsepower using turbos and superchargers, alcohol fuel, and multi-engine configurations to see who can pull the farthest. A sled weighing thousands of pounds is used to stop the pulling vehicles. A moving weight box progressively adds resistance to end the run. The sled is customized for classes ranging from customized farm tractors to multi-engine modifieds. Teams spend countless hours preparing their machines for competition. Thousands of dollars are spent traveling to events across 10 states, maximizing power and repairing broken parts. The season is long, and the competitors have to maintain focus every pull to compete for a class championship. This is Tractor Pulling with the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, as we kick off the 2014 season here with the Carlisle Tool Pro Pulling Nationals presented by Wyotech. It'll be for the super mods that are in the house and the pro stockers. The smokers are here as well, and we can't wait to get things started. Ken Stout and Leslie Mears here, and it's time to do it once again, Leslie.
You know, the long winter has come to an end, and it's time to light up the sky with that diesel smoke and, of course, to smell that beautiful methanol that gets burned up by those 4 engines on our super modified tractors.
And there's a look, a brand new look for the Kentuckian. It is an awesome looking tractor, and things are a good bit different than they were a year ago, especially the addition of an engine.
It is all new in 2014 for Wayne Sullivan's Kentucky, and the first thing you'll notice, it's gone from 3 engines to 4 engines. The next thing you'll notice, it's not all black. It's picked up a sponsorship from Tonka, so the color scheme has changed, and one of those prerequisites for Wayne, he needed a sponsor that's been getting dirty even longer than he has.
And Arnie from Funrise once again stepping up, and that's the company that owns Tonka. They are just outstanding people, and we're really glad they're out here with us. Looks like he might have lost a power plant right off the bat.
And you know, the Sullivans really just struggling to try to get the combination right since they've added the 4th engine out there. And you can see all the raw fuel spraying back at Wayne back there as it comes out of that back right engine. And we're talking about 5 gallons of fuel to each power plant throughout the run. And when half of it's blowing out of the headers, that's no good, and you're not making any power out there on the track.
So a little tuning to do to that one. One more time, we'll go on board and watch. And look at that chassis just flexing back and forth out there. Those guys will get it figured out.
Just an amazing feat of science. I always love to see how the front end lifts up, you know, just side to side before it completely elevates the whole entire front end.
There's a look at the running order. They're going to adjust the sled. You can see that Wayne Sullivan has dropped down to the 10 hole. He will not keep that run. Of course, after changing the sled, it wouldn't count anyways. Not that he wanted to keep that one. So he'll fall back down to the bottom of the order. Down and Dirty is up next. Michael Stewart, and always a tough competitor for sure. Always has an opportunity to win anytime that they show up.
Some crafty driving there by Michael to get the tractor to try to hook up to the track as he pedals that throttle.
And we should tell the fans at home, I mean, there was a lot of rain about an hour before this pull. So this track is going to be a handful. And you can see that this pull right here was a handful. Stewart trying to hang on to it. A quick pedal right there, and watch how violent this thing gets.
And both tires actually come off the ground when it hops. You've got those 30.5-inch wide tires with those thick bars on them to help dig into the track. And what happens when it rains like this? They got about an inch of rain on the track. They actually scrape off the track and then rebuild it completely, but it still remains very, very tacky.
Take a look at the points from a year ago. Leishner wins the championship yet again, but only by 2 points over Bunnage. Ricky Long 6 points back. It was a dogfight right to the very last pole.
And it came down to Wheatland, Missouri. And Steve Bunnage is still kind of riding high off that victory in Wheatland. That's what pushed him into that second place position overall and gave him a little bit of satisfaction over the winner. You know, he might have fell short on the championship, but he had this beautiful run in Wheatland to end the season, and you can't ask for anything better than that.
Yeah, you definitely carry that momentum forward into the next year, but I don't think track's going to be any different than what he saw out there and what he's going to see here tonight.
It's going to be finding the right position with the throttle is where your winner's going to be tonight.
And it almost looked as though maybe the right rear axle broke, but that thing made an immediate right-hand turn where the left rear tire was driving hooked up, and he got out of the throttle quickly.
Watch the front steer tires because they get a little haywire as well. It almost looks as if his steering is broke.
I agree. I wonder if something in the chassis broke and gave up on it right there, and it cost him his steering as well. Here's an onboard look. Look down there. That is the drive tube, the drive shaft tube.
I mean, he's sailing until he gets to that point. But if there's something wrong with his steering out there, you know, the majority of the weight from those engines is on those tires. And so until he gets that front end up.
And you could see him playing with the steering wheel right there, just spinning it, and nothing was happening. So, yeah, I think a great call there, Leslie. Unfortunately, something in the front end broke on that one.
Now, what will be interesting here is, did he get it shut off before 100 feet? Are we going to hear from the officials that he's going to get another run at it? So we could see him again.
Well, they're actually saying that Bunnage went 130.15, so a tough night for him. 30 foot past the mark that would have allowed him to come back. Here's a guy that finished third in the points one season ago.
Front right power plant looks like it's out of the ballgame here as Ricky Long makes a pass in the MAV TV Lucas Oil sponsored machine.
257 and 96, and I've got to tell you, man, the boys are struggling in the class here at the first official points poll of the season.
So you can see feet at the ready to hit those brakes at any time necessary. Doing a lot of steering with that front end down as you're taking a look right back at the driver on the machine.
Well, there's a look at your top three. Ricky Long leading the group at 257 and 96, but my guess is that will not last long.
The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League is brought to you by E3 Spark Plugs, born to burn. General Tire, anywhere is possible. And by Geico, saving people money on more than just car insurance.
Welcome back to the Carlisle Tool Pro Pulling Nationals presented by WyoTech. The reigning champ is back behind the wheel, and I promise you, if anybody knows the run starts tonight, it's going to be this guy, Terry Boyd.
Real quick update down here with Bill Leishner and the Speedco Dirt Slinger. They're moving the weights around, moving them a little more forward and a little more to the right side of the tractor. They really feel it's going to pull to the right. At least the track is tonight. They're going to do everything they can to try to keep it straight all the way down the lane.
If one guy can figure it out, it's going to be Bill Leishner.
Boy, and he is making it look easy. Drove right through the hard part, puts 304 and 75 on the board, and he's saying, tricky track? Where?
The Dirt Slinger didn't sound like it usually does. And if you watch the butterflies, you can see that he doesn't have it wide open until right there, and then he backs out of it towards the end of the run so as to not overpower the track. So he's using the throttle control in order to really drive it, which is something we don't really see out of our modified tractors a lot.
Yeah, I think a really, really good call. You could see him feather just a little bit down there at the other end, and typically when they go wide open, they never back out of them, but that is a cagey veteran right there that can get it done, and he's done the job so far here tonight much better than anybody else in the category. Well, there's a new name to the group.
Steve Boyd making his first official pass here on the track tonight, and there was some advice from all the veterans in the group as what they might tell Steve Boyd coming into this class.
I don't want to tell him nothing because he's such a good puller in that class, and he can absorb so much energy. I won't tell him nothing.
Steve is without a doubt one of the top competitors with PPL, and he's going to have really, really good equipment. He's got really good people around him. I look for him to be competitive.
If they're still running the pro stocks and trying to run a modified tractor, that adds a little difficulty to it. You know, the Longs are running two-wheelers and mods, and we've been there, done that with the Dirt Slinger team, and it does take away a little bit. I'm not saying you can't succeed and have a champion in both divisions, but it is more difficult.
He'll have more horsepower in his hand he's ever had, but it may take him a little time, it may be first time out, to feel that horsepower and be able to lay it down on the ground.
It's a learning curve. I mean, if you've never been with V8 motors and stuff and how they work, it's going to be a learning curve for him, and it's just going to be experience and data watching.
He's going to be very potent. He's going to win a bunch, and we're excited to have him come over.
They'll come on fast. They'll learn fast. They'll pick it up fast, and they'll do all right. They'll be fine with themselves. They don't need nobody to tell them nothing.
Yeah, these guys aren't going to be offering. They might give them some information, but if I was Steve, I wouldn't use that information because it's not going to be to help them, I promise you that. The Boyds are synonymous with pulling, of course, in the Pro Stock category. Just a slew of championships, and they have some great vision here as well. Those are some very seasoned eyes as well. Oh, man, and a violent run right there. You can see it actually smacked his head off that roll bar, it looked like, and he stayed with it as long as he could. He drove through the rough spot and then went full throttle. But, boy, that thing got ugly at the end.
And just look how loose his belts are, and that's something that you can do in a pro stock tractor, but you can't do in this modified tractor category.
Man, just a violent run. You could see it was whipping his hand back and forth as well. And typically in the pro stockers, the front ends are up in the ground. I'm sorry, up off the ground.
And you're seeing that twist and flex from that Angler chassis. Of course, Steve Boyd, a great relationship with Tim Angler, and they worked hand in hand to build this machine.
Yeah, there's a pretty good chance he'll need some Advil to calm that deal down here a little bit later on tonight. I was watching his thumb stuck in the steering wheel as well, and hopefully he didn't hurt that as well. Really good chance you could break your thumb whenever they're stuck down in there like that. But that was a violent ride. I guarantee you the Boyds will learn, like those guys said. They will be a factor in this category very quickly.
And running his first full season on the Champions Tour circuit, we welcome Wayne Buddage and Keeps on Ticking.
Oh, and he's in trouble early on. Has to get completely out of the throttle to keep it in bounds. Gets back in the throttle, and of course, it's disastrous once you do that. 213 and 32. When that sled gets up on there, that weight gets up on the front of that sled, you get out of the throttle, you can't get it back.
And he travels from the far left side of the track all the way to the right. That open rear end, those tires grabbing anything that they can on this slick track, and when they find traction, they're going to go with it, and so that's why he has to back out of the throttle.
And we constantly talk about setup and how critical it is, and that probably was a small mistake in setup that loaded up the left rear, so it drove the tractor off to the right. The right side just wasn't getting the same amount of bite.
Derek Bargy, a brand new next generation judge, and Crash spoke with him in the pits earlier today.
Yeah, we just, checking everything over beforehand, got a little electrical issue. It happens, especially when you put it in the trailer and you come down some bumpy roads, but that's nothing. We got it ready to go, and the biggest issue is the track right now. Just don't know what to expect from it. So we got some tricks up our sleeve. We'll see what happens.
We never really talk about it, but there's a lot of stories of the guys just getting to the event, as all racers do. I mean, you have flat tires on the trailer. Stuff inside of the trailer gets shaken around. Maybe something is loose. You don't know it till you get out there and you fire it up. You nut and bolt everything as best you can, but just getting here can be an adventure sometimes.
This could be a track where these turbines really come to shine because they have a little less power than the V8s that we see.
Boy, and I don't think he ever got up on the tire. You could see the sidewall really squatting there. And what was happening, it was just getting so much grip. It was flexing the sidewall. Then it would unflex, and the tractor would start hopping. And it never got up on the tire, meaning you need to spin those tires a little bit to get them up where they want to be. And it just never broke them loose.
And unfortunately, once you start to hop and bounce on those rear tires, there really isn't room for recovery, unfortunately, because they're loading and unloading, and you can never get out of the throttle long enough to get the tractor calmed down to get back into the throttle to help yourself recover.
All right, up next will be Stan Shelton in the Shell Shocked, and his two boys now competing in the two-wheel drive category. It has to be a great feeling for him. And, of course, he came out here and had great success in his first full season of this class, winning a championship.
Stan, a true student of the game, so it'll be interesting to see how he drives the tractor after watching so many competitors go down the track.
When he was nice and smooth off the start, 280 and 13, a very respectable number given everything we've seen here tonight.
And it doesn't sound like he let the Shell Shock get up to full song as well. Let's listen in. And his right hand doesn't move a whole lot, so I don't think he was really giving it its all there in that run.
Yeah, and hard to believe it. That's good for second place as it stands right now. Jumps up into the middle of the top three, but look at the difference between first and second. It is huge. Welcome back to the Carlisle Tools Pro Pulling Nationals presented by YO Tech. We're in Franklin, Kentucky. This is the first points event of the season. Joe Ader, a multi-time champ with the 75th edition tractor, and of course sponsored by Geico. Soft-spoken, but knows how to get it done. Well, and as you called earlier, you can see those butterflies were just never, ever wide open. A solid number, though, 287 and 96, and he jumps up to take over second place.
Joe had a great run going here. Had the driving under control, good throttle control right off the line as he gets it to hook up. But this is where he falls victim to the track conditions here. And he's really got to get on the left brake to try to keep it from going out of bounds. And he just misses going out of bounds by about 6 inches. And that's the difference between moving up into second place and being dead last in the class.
And it's so hard to be smooth on that throttle. When that tractor's hopping around back there, your body's hopping around with it, moving around in there, and you're trying to keep your right hand steady. It is not an easy thing to do. I've often wondered on a track like this if a throttle stop for their hand wouldn't be a wise decision to eventually just go as far as they can, but yet the throttle isn't wide open. Of course, those guys want that adjustability when they're out there on the track.
And this track is just an anomaly, too. This isn't the typical track that we see on a season. This is our track crew and our officials just doing the best with the weather conditions that they can't control out here and making a good track of it for the night.
Final tractor of the class. He was first out earlier. They changed his sled. He dropped to 10th. It looked like he did repair that right rear engine. It looked like it was running cleanly, but not enough to take over the win here tonight. Great looking ride, though, for the Sullivans, and we wish them the best of luck. Let's talk to our winner.
Well, the European wonder, Bill Leischner, is the only man who got over 300 feet. What did you figure out that others didn't?
Oh, we got a good crew and got Brian Knox working on the fuel system, and I just got lucky and did the right driving style for that track. And I mean, the new tractor is pretty awesome. Joe Eder built it, and it is really awesome. And had a little problem back in February with it, but I think we got it ironed out, and it's going to be a real awesome piece. You know, we got to thank Speedco for being on board. You know, they're just great to work with, and we're lucky to represent them. They're just an awesome group, and Stone Seed Company. And Craig Sage built a new gearbox for that tractor and has done a lot of work on drive shafts. And Craig Sage of SCS has done a lot for us.
Of course, Bill Leichner downplaying the fact that he's got a brand new chassis, brand new gearbox, always wants to stay on top of his game. But Joe Ader coming in second tonight, showing his championship form. And, you know, he was just off the pace just 2 years ago, trying to make it to the top of the heap.
A very happy Joe Ader kicking off his season with a second-place finish, and that was no small order tonight.
Yeah, the track was really challenging. I mean, the rain that came in, and you know, they did a good job setting up the track and, you know, getting things back together. But hey, you know, we all got to pull on the same track, and Bill Leichner, he's just an awesome driver, and I wasn't far behind him, but you know, it was tough. But we're happy with second.
Joe, how many times did you second-guess yourself during the night? Because it seemed like the track was changing, albeit I don't know if it was for the better.
I really don't think it changed at all. I mean, there was basically a little road out there, and you had to follow it, and that's the best you could do. So
here's a look at the points after our first event here in the super modified tractor category. As you might imagine, pretty much as they finished up in order. But the run has begun. Let's get it back down to Crash.
In the 3 spot, it's Stan Shelton, and you guys for 1, 2, 3 were at least 20 feet, say about 22 feet ahead of everybody else. What's the difference?
Well, when you come in here tonight and the promoter tries real hard, we've had a lot of rain, the track just won't take our horsepower, and that's a really difficult thing to do because we work hard to make a lot of horsepower. So when you get up there and the track won't take it, you know, I barely just cracked my throttle. Once I got the sled moving, I just held it right there and took what I could get. You know, sometimes you want to get, you know, you get a little momentum going, you want to say, well, I want to give it some more throttle, but these tires will climb out of the ground in a heartbeat. And that's what happened to a lot of guys, unfortunately, but we were just fortunate enough to keep it in the ground.
We're not finished yet. The pro stockers are lining up. The smokers are coming out to play ball. Stay with us. This is the Carlisle Tool Pro Pulling Nationals presented by Wyotech. Ken Stout and Leslie Mears here to call the action for you. And Billet Binder with Stuart Mays behind the wheel out of Amity, Missouri will be first in the pro stock category. Here we go.
And Stuart using some great innovations to try to make horsepower with his International just so he can be on equal ground with the John Deeres. He's actually using the biggest turbo that they make on the market in the Billet Binder.
That thing chugging hard right down through there to 286 and 87, and it looks like it gave up a little bit short.
And the white smoke means that there is a problem with that huge turbo that he's using.
Stuart Mays, as you can see there, number 1 in the pulling order. Mickey Shorter will be up next with the Buck Eater. And unfortunately for Stuart Mays, I'm sure that thing has been hurt. So no opportunity to turn that one down and come back later. But with that said, why not turn it down if you think you do have an opportunity to fix the tractor and get back out here?
And of course, this class just loaded with tough competitors from top to bottom. So you have to keep your eyes peeled and open here to see who's going to come out on top.
And Mickey Shorter with the Buck Eater drags that thing way down there to 278 and 24 RPMs up high, then down low. You could actually hear it. It sounded like it broke the tires loose a little bit and then got hooked up again, and it really pulled the RPMs down, quite possibly out of the power band. Steve Boyd a year ago set the mark here, and of course we saw him just a little bit earlier on top of one of the Supermod tractors.
But there will be no repeat champion inside this category. We're going to see a newly crowned champion this year, and that's very exciting in our Pro Stock division.
Don't count the Boyds out, though, because Greg was down there at the bottom of the list, so he will be a tough competitor on board the tractor that Steve won the championship with a year ago. Here is the Red Edge Pro, an old school Farmall. That thing is just absolutely gorgeous. Cody Shea behind the wheel.
Yeah, and you think the Billet Binder looks old school. This 1206 Farmall, that's really taking it back with the old school sheet metal. I just love it.
Very cool. Huge weight box out front, 291 and 89. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the mark to beat.
Cody Shea really putting together a nice run. Of course, comes in the same trailer as the billet binder. They're not teammates per se, but they do, the Maze does do a lot of work on the Shea machine out there. So you could kind of say they're running in conjunction throughout the season.
Beautiful job there. Excellent effort out here on this track that has been very tricky for a number of the categories and drivers. As we watch Greg Boyd come up here aboard the Green Streak, the tractor that won the championship with his father behind the wheel. Of course, Greg, very seasoned, a champion in his own right, can certainly get it done. That is premier equipment. But we heard Bill Leishner say something earlier in the mod category, running 2 different tractors, 2 different categories is a handful.
The good thing for the Boyds here, Greg is doing the driving on the Pro Stock, Steve on the mod. So you will have a completely different mindset. Oh!
I never saw any white dust kick up. Usually you can see white come up on the tires, and I was looking intently on that right rear. We'll find out if, in fact, he does get DQ'd because it looks like it pushed some dirt out over the line. Another look at it here, a really good look. Great camera crew doing their job.
Oh, he just lets it float a little bit more.
It's going to drive away from us.
He's not even really paying attention.
I mean, it looked like it was good from our vantage point. You know, typically, if they hit that line, that white chalk, there's a huge poof of white, and it's hard to miss it. It's close for sure.
From this angle, it looks like he just let it float. I mean, if you kind of look at the angles, it looks like he just let it float out of bounds.
Tire print was on the white.
And the officials are saying that, yes, he is out of bounds. So, man, what a tough run there for Greg Boyd. He'll end up with a DQ, no distance at all, dead last for the night.
Not the way you want to start your season. Up next, Trailblazer, Travis Coons.
This is a good-looking Massey Ferguson. You know, it's nice to see the mix of tractors in this category, and he's got a little bit of a problem there inside.
Yeah, huge exhaust leak right there. You can see that header, too, was just about the same color as that tractor. There's a look at your top 3. Cody Shea leads the group at 291.89.
The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League is brought to you by Speedco Truck Lube and Tires. Built for speed, staffed for quality, delivering world-class value. Optima Batteries, the ultimate power source. And by Wyotech. Enroll today. Turn pro at Wyotech.
Welcome back. We're in the middle of our Pro Stock category here at the Carlisle Tool Pro Pulling Nationals presented by Wyotech. River Rat, a name synonymous with this category, along with the Masterson family. This is Kevin behind the wheel. Boy, and he just slowly drives it out to the point he has to get out of the throttle, or he's about to be DQ'd as well. Wow. I mean, these are some talented veterans that are struggling out here. 231 and change. I mean, nowhere near the number he was about to put up on the board, but these guys are being tested.
And it just shows the amount of bite that is out there in the track, only in certain places, that's driving them over to that right-hand side of the track. So there's a groove right about there in the middle where those left tires are that's just really shooting them that direction.
And the Whiskey Wild tractor up next, Scott Typen. And if I'm not mistaken, this is a former Green Streak 2 tractor owned by the Boyds.
And this is a tough running machine. Took a win out at our Invitational in Phoenix. You've got to expect good things out of it.
273 and 74, and the Pro Stockers are struggling out here as well.
And it's a fine line that these guys have to drive out here, because they want to make sure that they keep it in bounds, because they have to get a measurable distance. One of the guys that could possibly make that happen is Don Masterson. Crash caught up with him earlier.
Up here on the track, guess who I found? Don Masterson. And what are you learning by watching the other guys in your class go out on the track before you?
Well, it's slick out there and it's pulling hard, and so It's a matter if you get it in the right gear and if you got your RPMs up to stay, the engine to stay alive. It's going to be pretty tough out there.
Don coming up with an answer, but he didn't want to give too much information away.
Yeah, these pullers know that when the cameras turn that everyone is listening, and so they don't want to give all their secrets away.
He might have been talking a little slow, but he was doing his job out there. 272 and 55, and he'll jump right up there with the bulk of the pack.
And you could tell he was really riding that brake hard to keep it in bounds. And had he not had to do that, he probably would have ended up with a much bigger number on the board.
Corey Bobb coming up next out of Seymour, Indiana, barely getting by. Another John Deere in the class.
And you normally see Steve Wishmeyer behind the wheel, but Corey Bobb does a lot of work at the shop. And so he's getting to kind of take a turn in the seat. So it'll be Scott Typen, Steve Wishmeyer, Corey Bobb, in and out of all of those vehicles on the track.
Wow, talk about an incredible run after everybody has struggled here tonight. 3:17 and 68. That is some 26 feet further than anybody else has gone in the category.
Places the sled right in the middle of the track and then just lets it float. You can see he's on the brake just a little bit at the end, but found that sweet spot in the middle where he didn't have to use a whole lot of brakes like everybody else. Just a great job driving there by Corey Bobb. And of course, had a good setup. The Whiskey Wild tractor ran just a few places ahead of him. And so Corey Bobb getting the right combination, putting it all together to put himself at the top of the leaderboard.
It has been a wild night here at the Carlisle Tool Pro Pulling Nationals, presented by Wyotech, in part because of this track. The Haymaker, Nathan Babler, coming up next out of Illinois. We had a huge rainstorm about an hour before the pull began. In fact, it delayed the pull just a little bit, but it hammered this track with moisture. The crew did a fabulous job to get us something to pull on, but it has been a handful for the pullers.
And this is one of those tracks that
man, just really hooked that tractor up, lifted the nose, set it back down, lifted the nose again, and grenaded it.
I'm going to guess by the amount of white smoke that we've got here that that's going to be a huge turbo issue. And that one is just completely kaput. We're talking about probably $10,000 to $15,000 for one of those turbos that's just been burned up in that run. And I think that Nathan Babler, he was a contender there with the Haymaker on that run had he not lost his turbo.
Well, and I got to tell you, too, whenever one of those turbos grenades, it sends all the shrapnel from the turbo through the intercoolers, quite possibly into the engine as well. So it can cause catastrophic damage to the entire power plant. Linder Brothers coming up next.
Of course, our pullers at the latter part of the class, maybe towards the end of the class, a little bit of an advantage because they can sit back and watch. And, you know, the Linder brothers, Mike and John both. Mike does the driving out here, but he and his brother John watch the track continually to try to make sure that they get the best read possible.
Like 285 and 71 is a good effort out here tonight and should get them up there really close to that top 5. Tough room here this evening.
And you can see the pullers really starting to place the sled in the tracks of where the barely getting by machine went to try to find that road, thinking that maybe if they groove that they can extend their distance. And you can see the track crew, that's where they've worked the most. And so it's packed down there, perhaps when those big tires dig in and chew up the track a little bit, maybe some of that slick dirt is getting removed and they're going to find some solid ground to really, you know, dig those tires in down the track.
Well, there's about 4 tractors left inside of the category if they're going to get after the barely getting by. And up next will be Dennis Schnitker, the Bite and Binder. They seem so calm and docile when they're sitting there idling. They spool those things up, man. You can look for a little flame right in the center there. And they pour the fuel to those things. Some 120-plus pounds of boost.
And you're talking about 2.5 gallons of fuel and a lot of water going through there as well to make that horsepower.
266 and 13. You could hear the RPMs fall down, and go back to what Don Masterson was talking about earlier. To maintain those RPMs, there's a good opportunity or a good chance there that he actually just chose the wrong gear to attack here tonight.
Bob Johanneman driving the Rolling Stone machine, and Terry got a chance to speak with them earlier tonight.
Bob Johanneman's going to be behind the wheel of the Rolling Stone tonight. 2012 was spectacular for the Rolling Stone. 13, maybe not the year they wanted. What about 2014?
We hope to do a little better this year. We made a little minor tweaks over winter, but nothing too major. But hopefully this year we can just kind of piece it all together and get back to the form we were in before.
Bob, when you go from 2012 into a year like 2013, do you second guess things, or do you go, look, we're on the right track, it's going to come together?
Yeah, I think we were pretty confident in what we were doing. We just couldn't quite get the right combination put down. This year we hope to correct that combination, get everything put together the way it needs to, and hopefully get it down the track as far as we need to go.
And if you look at the points from the 2013 season, the Rolling Stone machine actually missed 2 crucial hooks in Hillsboro, Wisconsin, and that really put them out of the points race.
And again, just tugs that motor down there way early. 256 and 64. Good RPMs early on. Once he got the clutch all the way out, the tires got a bite, it started tugging that thing down.
This is a track that's really going to lend drivers to making changes with their setup and maybe choosing a gear that they're not usually comfortable running. We'll see what Jeremy Freer can do here with his tractor called Under New Management.
It's one of those deals where it's slick on top, but if they can get a bite, man, this track seems to be pretty tacky as it drags another one down. And these guys make some incredible torque and horsepower. 251 and 90, and it seems like the last 3 in a row quite possibly just chose the wrong gear.
It's out there. It's just a question of putting all the variables together. Can you get the tire pressure and the gear and the driving style and all of those things together at the same time to make it happen, as the Barely Getting By machine did?
Todd Doman and the Hurricane Alice. And the AMSOIL back machine comes out here and puts 3:04.11 up on the board, steps up and takes over second place. That is a solid effort. You said it was out there. You just have to find the right combination. There it is.
And it's actually a pretty good-looking run. He gets the front end up early. It bounces just a little bit, but look at that carry. About 150 feet, he carries the front end of the tractor, getting the proper weight displacement and doing exactly what you're supposed to do.
All right, I said we had about 4 left. I was wrong. We had 5 left, which means we have 1 left now. Stay with us. We'll finish this category up. Who's going to win at Pro Stock?
The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League has been brought to you by Ion Camera, the lightest, fastest, fully waterproof HD action camera on the market. General Tire, anywhere is possible. And by Lucas Oil, made in America, sold to the world.
There's 1 tractor left in the Pro Stock category here at the Carlisle Pro Pulling Nationals, presented by Wyotek. And Leslie, it's a good one.
Brad Moss does so much over the winter to try to make his tractor different than everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are players for sure. There's no doubt about it.
An extra added pressure here tonight for Brad Moss, as this is as close to a hometown event as he's going to get here with the TS Performance Young Bucks. look at Brad carry the front end.
And listen to those RPMs. They never fell too far at all. And ladies and gentlemen, the last tractor of the category is going to steal the win by about a foot. Excellent effort here. 3:18 and 73. Just sneaks out enough to steal that win away.
Slow and steady until he finds the place on the track, that sweet spot we've been talking about all night long, and then pours the coal to it full throttle out the gate.
Boy, he made it look so easy. Let's go on board. Excellent job. I mean, that is textbook. Come out here, watches his competition, learns from him, puts a setup in the tractor, and gets it done. Let's send it down to Terry Boyd. He's with third place.
Todd Doman starting off 2014 with a third-place finish overall. That's a pretty good start to a season.
We're very tickled with it. We had 2 7ths down in Phoenix, and just glad that we could finish in the top 3. It's been a while for us, and tractor ran really great, so we're happy.
Todd, what was the biggest challenge tonight?
The biggest challenge was getting out of the hole. With all the rain and stuff, it made for kind of a slick track, but slipped the clutch a ways and then eased out on it so we could get a hold of the track and not upset the front end and come way up high once I did release the clutch all the way, and just had a pretty smooth run all the way.
So taking all those variables, finding the right combination, and putting it together is what you had to do to be in the top of the heap. And Stuart Mays, with that first run of the night, finds himself rounding out the top 5. But Corey Bobb was also able to make it happen too. He's down at the podium with Crash.
317 feet, that's what gets you second place. And you guys, 1, 2, 3, the only 3 over the 300 mark. How did you do that?
A lot of luck and just having to put it in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, that's easier said than done, though, especially with the conditions tonight.
It was a little rough. You got to thank the track crew. They did a heck of a job even getting this in an hour before the show to get the rain shower they did and still be able to pull tonight. It's pretty amazing job by them.
And here's a look at the points inside of the Protect the Harvest Pro Stock Tractor category. And as you might imagine, it's pretty much as they finished here in the first pole of the year. Let's get it back down to Terry with Brad Moss, our winner.
Brad Moss in the Young Buck kicks off 2014 in the best possible way you can. First place finish. It didn't look like you had trouble anywhere on the track tonight.
Well, we was a late hook. I don't think the track changed that much, but we got to watch 20 other tractors go down the track, and you know we was pretty confident in our setup when we rolled up to the line. So I mean, we sat back and watched all them guys and pretty much knew what we was gonna do. It worked.
Brad, I was watching a lot of those guys up on the starting line, and a lot of guys were changing last minute, but you were confident and never made any changes.
Yeah, about probably I'd say 7, 8 tractors before we ever ran. We made the adjustments we thought was going to work, and we stuck with it, and it paid off.
And of course, you can follow all the action of the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League in real time on social media at Pro Pulling on Twitter, and of course, Lucas Oil Pulling League on Facebook. But if you want to see the schedule and you want to come out to a live event, just head on over to propulling.com, and you can also find some great behind-the-scenes video highlights as well.
It's a wonderful time of year. Summer's just around the corner. The fairs are out, and tractor pulling is in effect. The run for the championship is on for 2014, and we hope you'll join us all season long. For Terry Boyd, Crash Gladys, and Leslie Mears, I'm Ken Stout. Thanks for watching the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League.